The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and the man seated next to me is known to speak Klingon after a few beers. His name is Mike Roth.
It's actually, I just can't talk. It sounds like Klingon.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm an alcoholic.
It's a lot of There's Mike going into Klingon again. That went in a direction I didn't think it would, and I love it. So this week we have 4 movies on the marquee to talk about. The new Wes Anderson film, as well as a new horror movie. But first, sir, you have a movie we want to talk about.
Well, let's talk about sports for a little bit.
Okay.
The Miracle Season, based on a true life story of a female high school volleyball team that end up losing their captain. Caroline, she passes away in a moped accident, and the team is kind of left down. You know, she was the captain, she was the inspiration. How are they going to win any games? Kelly, which is Caroline's best friend, played by Erin Morady, she is the one who is kind of stepping up, and she's kind of the black sheep of the team. The team believes the only reason why she was on there was because her best friend was on the volleyball team, and for some reason her being kind of the leader in a way irks them a little bit, but doesn't really matter because everybody's more sad about losing their friend Caroline more than anything else. Helen Hunt is in this. She plays Kathy. She's the volleyball coach. We also have William Hurt, who plays Caroline's father. This plays out almost exactly like every sports movie you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Of course, they come from behind. They're not going to win. They've already had many losses because they forfeited many of the beginning games.
Does it come down to the last big game?
And then it comes down to the, yes. This is exactly like every type of sports movie there is. Now, that being said, if those do it for you, this will definitely do it for you. My only complaint, besides the unoriginal,
the formula.
the whole formula, which is extremely predictable. You could actually tell which games are going to lose and which ones are going to win, because you have to lose some in order to build that anticipation, and therefore you know certain ones are going to lose.
I just hope it didn't come down to the last point.
I'm not going to ruin it for anybody.
Okay.
But yeah. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, everything is here. If this is the kind of movies that you like, that's what you're going to get. My only complaint besides that, the person who played Caroline, she was annoyingly positive, and I actually found her character to be grating. I have no idea. I mean,
the dead girl?
Yeah, and I feel a little bad about saying this because she does die later.
She died. That's Mike's quote.
And the movie does get better after that.
Wow.
And that sounds horrible of me. But her character was really annoying.
Okay.
And it was bringing me down for a long time until she died. God, that sounds terrible. That really sounds absolutely terrible. But anyhow, if you like those kind of formulaic movies, I think this is going to do it for you. If not, it's really not that great of a movie or do anything different than what you would really expect.
It does fill a gap, though, because with sports movies, there aren't really any. I can't think of any real volleyball movies.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as all
Right.
the other ones,
But
just a different ball.
If you like that formula
Yeah.
of the ups and downs, the roller coaster story, the big redemption at the end, all that come with all these sports movies, but you're like, I don't like baseball. I don't like basketball. My sport's volleyball. Here's the one for you.
Well, with that idea, we should just like make one and have everybody wear flannel shirts, because I've never seen them wear flannel shirts in a sports movie.
You never know. It could very well happen next. So what did you end up giving this movie?
I give it a 2.5. It's a mediocre score. It could go either way depending on how your feelings are for these kind of movies. And also, it is very sympathetic because it's based on true life events. But you got to take that with a grain of salt because there's so many movies out there that say it's based on a true life event.
This show is based on real events.
Yeah, we really do this.
Based on a true story.
There's a movie coming out based on a true life story of friends playing tag, which
yes, there is.
I'm curious on.
John Hamm is going to do. I can't wait to see
how accurate that one is. So what do you got?
Okay, so the movie that I have for us is this week's R-rated comedy. It is Blockers from director Kate Cannon. It stars Leslie Mann, John Cena, Ike Barinholtz. They are the parents of 3 daughters who became friends as little girls, and in doing so, the parents kind of became friends along the way. The 3 girls grow up, and where we pick up, it is prom night, and they are looking. They're looking, and they're pressuring themselves into losing their virginity, and they make this pact that prom night, the 3 of us are going to go out, and we're going to lose our virginity. The 3 parents discover this through a bit of snooping. Now you have John Cena, who's playing the emotional dad in Docker shorts. Kind of playing against type, against his physicality. Leslie Mann is the mom who needs her daughter as her identity, really. She wants to be the best friend. She wants her daughter to always be there as her emotional support. Who's incredibly needy. Ike Barinholtz is the dad who is kind of seen as a screw-up and is trying to relive his teenage years and kind of relive his prom time as well. And the movie is basically these 3 parents out trying to stop their daughters from losing their virginity. That's kind of what this is. The interesting parts about this movie is it really works to address the double standard of, women versus men, boys versus girls when it comes to the issue of sex and how it's seen. And I thought that was interesting how it was addressed. And it made me think about how many teen sex comedies are out there where boys are out just trying to hook up with a girl?
Oh,
I mean, that's most of them,
that's
right?
80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Entire.
But how many of those do you have the parents out trying to stop their boys from having sex? I can't think of any. It's not a thing.
No, you're right.
And so this is a real different take on it. Not only that, but it is a teen sex comedy that stars the adults. The parents are the stars of this movie. The girls are fine, but they really are secondary in this movie. And it gets into this whole issue of trust versus control as a parent, and how you can worry, but you can't handhold your kid. They need to make their own experiences in life. And as difficult as it is, at the moment I have a son who is getting ready to take off and turn 16, get his license. And it's my first moment of, at some point I have to let go. At some point you have to give up control and trust that you've given them the tools.
Unless he's driving your car.
Unless he's driving my car, yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie kind of deals with that issue. At some point you have to trust that you've given them the proper tools and let them live their lives. You can't be hovering over them as much as helicopter parents are a thing these days. And so it was interesting, and I liked that the daughters didn't play the damsels in distress. They were young women who, were out there just playing the role that we've seen so many boys play in these movies. Now, Leslie Mann's character as the mom was edging. I think she toed her toe over the edge of annoying to me. She really played the stereotypical mom who just needed her kid there as her identity.
Yeah.
It got kind of annoying. Ike Barinholtz was hilarious, though. I'm a big sucker for him. I think he's hilarious. And John Cena was fine. He's showing a little bit more and more each time.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about John Cena and his roles that he's doing lately. It seems like, a lot of wrestlers or ex-fighters, when they leave their profession, they go into acting.
Yeah.
And the ones that tend to do the best are the ones who don't do, I'm going to be really tough and slaughter everything. It's going to be people like Andre the Giant.
Action movies.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, he did at the beginning. He did the Marine and stuff, and then he kind of tapered. And then now, as he's kind of retiring from wrestling, he's doing comedies and things like that.
I feel that does those actors better for some reason. It's worked many times over, and I've it's hard for me to think of like ex-wrestlers and fighters that really had a fantastic career by only being tough people in their acting career. I'm glad John Cena, he's like, he's doing a good job. Yeah,
I think it's smart to do that instead of just being typecast as the big musclehead.
Yeah,
which would be incredibly easy to do with him. But I enjoyed this movie, and more than I thought I would. It wasn't anything great as far as the jokes were. A lot of stuff was given away in the trailer, like the whole butt chugging scene and all that. That was a really funny bit, but I'd seen it many times in the trailer. I wish they hadn't given it to me. There's a few of those moments, and it did kind of follow, even though it flopped over to the female side of the story. It's still, like you were saying with Miracle Season, it followed a formula that we've seen in teen sex comedies before. It was just a different perspective of it. So originality, it doesn't get high marks, but I still enjoyed it, and I thought the cast was fairly fun. So I think I gave it 3 stars. There it is, 3 stars. Sometimes I got to double check. Yeah, it was enjoyable enough. I was actually not expecting it to be this good. So there you go.
Excellent. I'm sorry I missed it.
Oh, well, there's always time. You can always catch up.
Not sorry but this movie is awesome.
Yeah? This next one? What are we talking about?
Isle of Dogs. It's a new Wes Anderson movie. Still frame animation. It's about, in Japan, somewhat in the future, there is a terrible dog flu, and dogs are passing it around. They're becoming violent. So they round up all the dogs and move them to Trash Island. Well, one boy named Atari, he decides he's going to go after his dog. It's his best friend. He loves the dog, and the dog loves him. Why wouldn't you go find your best friend? So he flies his plane into Trash Island. He gets hurt pretty bad, and then a little pack of dogs who are absolutely hilarious and had great voice acting. Chief, Rex, King, Boss, Duke, all played by really big name actors. We got Bryan Cranston, who does Chief, Edward Norton, Rex, Bob Babylon King, Bill Murray as Boss, Jeff Goldblum as Duke. I mean, really fantastic names. And they go on an adventure to try to find Atari's lost dog. Meanwhile, there's also a side story back on the mainland where they're trying to uncover the controversy. The government wants to increase the damage control about these dogs, and there is a group that's trying to stop this. There's a little death and stuff like that, and it's a
foreign exchange student starting a revolution.
Yeah, this is a beautiful film, and besides just the beautiful film and how it was shot and the emotion behind this, you also have a beautiful score on top of this. This is one of Wes Anderson's greatest films. I would put it in the top.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the style of animation that he chose with this, I really enjoy because it harkens back to this old era. Like when you use these like the animals and the puppets and such that they use, the models, when they have fur or hair on them, it's an old trick going back decades and decades and decades. But as you do the stop motion animation, just the fact of the animator's fingers touching these things as they're moving them, it moves the hair, moves the fur, so it makes them appear as they're rippling when you're watching it.
Yeah.
And I love that he didn't clean that up.
Yeah.
He left it, so it does feel like there's constantly like a breeze blowing through as the hair is constantly moving on them. I love the characters, and you mentioned the voices. The voice work was great. Specifically, I think the characters of Chief and Rex, because it is a pack of alpha dogs.
Yeah.
And there's this competition of who's going to be the alpha dog, and specifically between Bryan Cranston's Chief, who's a stray and does not want to be a part of a pack, does not want to help. He's out for himself. And Rex, Edward Norton's character, who wants to kind of be the leader, but Chief pushes back. I mean, there's great moments where the two groups are on competing zip lines.
Oh, I love that scene.
Okay, we're going to meet up here. You're not the leader. I'm not listening to you. And I loved those moments together. I mean, you see in the trailers, Wes Anderson's decision to have the characters look straight into camera as they give dialogue, and almost breaking the fourth wall, but they're not talking directly to the audience. They're talking to people behind them, but they're staring you right in the eyes. I thought that was a really inspired choice to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of this movie is, admittedly, from him. I mean, it's inspired by a lot of like Kurosawa and Japanese cinema that's been going back a century now. He borrowed and lifted from this, and it's caused some issues, but I don't want to get into the issues because I think they're kind of silly.
Yeah.
But I think that it was just such a beautiful film to watch. And like you said, the soundtrack was great.
Yeah. Trying to pick this movie apart, I couldn't find anything I would improve on this movie.
My one issue with this movie was that I thought that a couple of the female leads in this movie, specifically Scarlett Johansson's character, I thought didn't serve a ton of purpose. Nutmeg. The female dogs were just kind of there they were identified because of the mates that they were there with.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have done more with her. I thought that Greta Gerwig's character of Tracy, the foreign exchange student girl, she was like the one character that I could have just lifted out of this movie. I would have been okay with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know why. I've seen this movie almost three times.
Do you like this movie too?
I love this movie.
All right, sweet.
But there's just these little things, and like her character, just every time I'm just like, I don't connect with that character.
Yeah.
And I connect with everything else in this movie. But little things, like upon rewatches, like the backgrounds, where it's just like the trash in the background feels like it was hand selected and placed to be just like make this beautiful mosaic behind these characters, and it could just be a standard background, but it feels like it was very specific.
And you mentioned something earlier. I just want to expand on it. How he doesn't clean up when the hair and stuff moves. He also uses a very old school style when it comes down to everything. So a lot of the still frame animation movies now, they might tweak something or try to find a new way to make something look even better than before. They don't do this in this movie. If you have a steaming cup of coffee, you could tell it's someone with a cotton swab, and they're just pulling the cotton swab out for steam. And I just thought that was so awesome to just see, just bring it down a little bit, bring it back to what still frame animation was supposed to feel like.
It feels like it does feel like an homage to things that he grew up loving.
Yeah.
And those are always fun when you get a director who has the power to do what he wants and finds a story that he loves and can really just do whatever and gets people to work around him that believe in it and like, yeah, let's go for it. This might not be the cutting edge. Let's do something amazing, though.
Yeah.
And that's what this turned out to be. I mean, one of the things that I love about the Wes Anderson films and the characters, and in this movie really stands out, is the deadpan deliveries of everything. Everything. There's no laugh. Nobody says something that is a hilarious line, but it's never delivered as a hilarious line. It's always just very dry.
Yeah.
And the voice actors you get in here, I mean, they're known for that. Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray, Bryan Cranston, they're known for their just dry, deadpan delivery. It's like a cast full of these perfect choices for that.
And there's a lot of extreme moments, and they're still just deadpanning it.
Yeah.
It makes it even funnier.
This movie is, I think, incredibly rewatchable, as most of his films are, especially as we go along through his catalog. It was interesting. I didn't realize until, I don't know, 3 days ago, I'd been talking about this movie all week and recommending people and talking to them, and it dawned, all of a sudden I heard myself say it. What's the title of the film?
Isle of Dogs.
Say it quickly.
Isle of Dogs.
No. I Love Dogs.
Oh!
This is a love story to dogs.
Yep.
I Love Dogs.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like, oh, wait, that's, the guy's smart. Anyways, this is a little thing. I love this movie. What did you end up giving Isle of Dogs?
I gave it a 5. It's a perfect movie. It really is. Oh, another thing I loved about this?
Yes,
everybody's name.
Yeah.
Where you had Obey in the middle of the mayor's name and Atari. It just...
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. It is up there. Not quite my favorite Wes Anderson movie. Still Moonrise Kingdom. But it's a great film.
Yeah.
Absolutely worth going to see. I've been telling everybody.
I have a feeling this one's going to win easy the animations.
Think so?
For next year, yeah. And that's a really early call, but...
I don't know. I think Incredibles 2. coming out. You never know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. There might be a Norm of the North 2 coming out on the pike. You never know.
No.
Okay, the last movie we have on the marquee is the new movie from director and actor and writer John Krasinski. He is back behind the director's chair for A Quiet Place. It is a movie about a family who is forced to live in silence while hiding from creatures that hunt by sound. He didn't cast. His wife cast herself in this movie. She read the script, said, "I'm in this movie." So Emily Blunt plays his wife. His real life wife plays his wife in this movie. They have a couple of children. Melissa Lynn Simmons and Noah Jupe stars their daughter and son. And the film really spends some time kind of introducing this world without telling us too much about this world. No sound, means no real exposition into the movie. Mm-hmm. And in that way, it really felt similar to It Comes at Night to me, where we're kind of dropped into this world. We're not told anything that these characters don't know about what's going on. There's something out there. We're not sure. Let's figure it out as we go along. And so in this world, the mother and father are doing really all they can to provide a normal life in these extremely abnormal times. The daughter is also deaf, and that comes into play
in real life too, which I thought was interesting.
And that comes into play in this story. John Krasinski as the dad. A lot of the story deals with the guilt of a father and his responsibilities to his family, and we see the monsters and we see how they work. You see that literally any little sound can bring about a calamitous decision with these monsters. They come in to destroy things, and it's an interesting movie. It is a tense-filled movie. There isn't a lot of dialogue. There isn't really a lot of sound. It's a movie where, unfortunately, when I went and saw it, the guy next to me decided to eat, I think, 2 buckets of popcorn. He was really hammering through that popcorn in my left ear, which was awesome. And I think it takes a lot to make a story like this interesting and sustain interest with really no dialogue. It's tough to do. And John Krasinski is trying something new with it. What did you think of Quiet Place, sir?
The first 10 minutes I thought was amazing. How you mentioned the person next to you chomping onto that popcorn. I actually enjoyed that in the first 10 minutes because everything is completely quiet. And they are setting the stakes on how important it is that not even the slightest sound is made, but you could hear someone's phone vibrating in their pocket. You could hear someone chewing on their popcorn like the row or two behind you. I'm chewing on my pizza, Marcus Theater Pizza, by the way. A little plug, great pizza. And I had to stop eating because I thought I might miss something because I couldn't hear anything besides my chewing.
Right.
And that I thought was...
It is in the title.
I thought
the theater is a quiet place.
It is. and I thought that was extremely powerful. But then it kind of set up something for me that kind of ruined the rest of the movie. They put so much importance on, taking that pill bottle and just carefully placing it down, because that sound of plastic hitting the ground, that is loud in complete silence. And then throughout the movie, it seemed like, well, you're doing all these things to make sure every single thing you do doesn't make noise, but you didn't do anything to try to contain the noise in that environment. So, yeah, you have a board game, and you're using little fuzzy pieces of lint to go around because plastic is makes too much noise, but why didn't you use the idea of just insulating your house? Or they had the great idea, and they had long dialogue about this, is you're sitting by the waterfall. Right. The waterfall makes so much noise and will cover the noise. Why didn't you do that in your own safe place? And other little decisions like having a child, and I understand people still want to procreate, but having a child in this world at this time is the worst thing. It is almost like just saying my family is not worthy to live.
But I enjoyed that actually because it built the tension for me. Like, what is going on? Like we've set everything up, and so these little moments built this tension for me. Like anything could happen now, because I know I've seen the stakes. Like for me, this movie, by the end of the movie, my neck hurt because I realized that I had been tense for 90 minutes of like just don't be careful.
Yeah.
The issues I had with this movie were the daughter. In this world where she grew up, in this world, and all of the tragedy that has happened, she's seen, and yet she still plays this like petulant teenager who runs off in the dark. And like, I'll show you. I'm like, that doesn't feel like a real character to me.
There was also
in that moment.
Yeah, there was inconsistencies of things people doing that they shouldn't have done. That's a great example.
That's my only example.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about how the monster works?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, so it can't see anything.
Right.
So you assume it gets that accuracy from sound around, and
Yeah,
probably
we see it. I mean, we see glimpses of it.
Probably like a bat can use the echo thing so they can maneuver things like stairs and running around and stuff like that, but they can't see that way. People are moving in front of them very quietly, and they can't hear it. But still, even if you're barefoot, that noise of your foot hitting the ground is louder than setting down a pill bottle.
This is what I appreciate is I don't need to have every little thing explained to me and say like, well, this is how the monster works and this is how the monster works, because that would take away from the story to me.
Well,
it's just like, okay, I see how this monster works in your universe. I'm playing by your rules. I'll go with it. So I didn't have any issues with the monster. I actually really enjoyed the monster, and I enjoyed so much about this movie. There's a couple of moments in here where there was like especially one moment where there was a lack of resolution to a kind of a major moment in the movie. I don't want to get into it. That kind of bothered me, the like kind of lack of resolution to it. But the rest of it, I really enjoyed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wanted to enjoy it more. And in a way, I think the silence also, even though a great idea, it gave me way too much time to think about everything I thought was inaccurate or implausible or... And I was just like, why? Why? Why are you doing this throughout the whole movie? And it dulled it down.
All right. I think we're going to disagree on this. What did you give it, Quiet Place?
I gave it a 2.5. The beginning was great. I think the idea was great. I just don't like the inconsistencies throughout the movie.
Fair
enough.
enough.
That's it.
I give it 4.5 stars. This is
wow.
Yeah, I think this is in the top 3 movies I've seen this year. I think it was pretty tremendous. I really, really enjoyed it. I haven't given out a 5 yet this year. This is right up there at the top. Wow. A week with 2 movies at 4.5 stars for me is actually impressive too. But yeah, I love this movie. I think it's the best thriller I've seen in the last 10, 12 months. I really dug it.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought John Krasinski did great. All right. You know what, Mike? We talk so much about our movies, we don't have time for a movie throwback.
Oh,
I know
no.
this breaks your heart. We're going to save our throwback
no.
another time.
I get to bring it up again.
We're going to save our throwback for another time. I know there's an offset joke between us, but you're going to enjoy this. So because we talk so much, we are going to have to jump right into what is coming soon, sir. The weekend of April 20th, we have 3 movies that are going to be coming out on the marquee that weekend. The first is I Feel Pretty, the new Amy Schumer comedy, where she hits her head and suddenly thinks she's pretty.
It's Amy Schumer.
But I'm reserving all judgment. The next is a sequel that's been rumored for, it feels like, forever. It kept saying, like, oh yeah, we're going to make this movie, and then it finally actually happened. Super Troopers 2 is coming out. I have to rewatch the first one.
I feel like that just kind of came out of nowhere, even though they've been talking about it for a while.
They've been kicking around the idea for, it seems like, 40 years.
Yeah.
It's only been out like 10.
Yeah, I know.
And the last one is a movie called Traffic. Stars Omar Epps and Paula Patton as a couple who falls into some trouble with a biker gang. And if I know anything about biker gangs, that's trouble. I watched Wild Hogs. Biker gangs are bad news.
I actually have a story about
a
stuff
biker
like
gang?
that, a real life thing, yeah.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that when we talk about the movie. That's going to be great. Okay, before we leave you, of course, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Cinemas, The Palace. Thank you for sponsoring our show. We do appreciate it. We love our Dream Loungers. And Mike enjoyed his Piero's pizza pie.
Yes, I think it's very tasty, and it's a reasonable price. It's a
pizza pie.
It's good pizza.
If you want to find more from us, you can always find us online anytime. We are on Facebook. If you search Real Reviews TV, we are on Twitter at Real Reviews TV. You can find previous episodes of ours if you go to sunprairiemediacenter.com. Search the on-demand player there. You can also find us on the YouTube. If you search Real Reviews, KSUN, KSUN, you can find previous episodes there as well. Next week, sir, we're going to be talking about movies like Rampage, Truth or Dare, maybe a movie called Beirut, I'm going to be talking about the Wisconsin Film Festival and maybe some of the movies I saw there.
I did a good job not bringing it up,
Good
but
job.
then you brought it
You
up.
did so good. But we'll be talking about that next week. But until that time, my name is Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.